Okay. So this was obviously very meaningful for you guys, but it's also really meaningful and special for us. And just the opportunity to come together to receive Hebrew names, to formally join the Jewish community, although you've been an important part forever, is so beautiful, and we're all so lucky to be a part of it. And in addition to that, it's just so fitting that today's Torah portion is Bamidbar, because in English we translate it as numbers, but it really means in the desert. But Bamidbar, we've been talking about three-letter roots and how they have other meanings, actually comes from the word daber, to speak. And maybe it's because this is when the Jews were wandering in the desert after being, this whole part of the Torah is about when after the Exodus, after we were freed from Egypt and we were wandering in the desert for 40 years, this part of the portion comes in Bamidbar. They're in the desert, they're wandering, and first of all, that word has the same root as speaking, because maybe it's when you go to a place with quiet and you can hear God's voice speaking to you, is when you can really join and count, because this portion also takes a census, it counts the people, and so it kind of brings all together what we've been doing in Israel, what you guys had to say, and numbers. Because first of all, we have the list of Jewish people. We heard, I don't know if you know it, but we heard lots of names in the portion. You guys read lots of names. And so when the people had time to come to a very special place, to be in the desert waiting to enter the land, they were in the desert, but they could also hear God's voice. They could also hear the speaking that called to them, not just God's voice, but also the community. And so you have almost blended together in this portion the importance of community, the importance of listening to God's voice, and more importantly, how all of us matter and all of us count. And so when we talk about numbers, we can talk about counting 1, 2, 3, 4, but we can also talk about what counting really means. And in Judaism, counting doesn't just mean numbering people off. It also means, how do we count every day? How do we make every day special? How do we make every day count? That we have, as you guys said, the freedom to do whatever we want, but now you've taken on a really important responsibility. And we were talking earlier in the club that I taught about how freedom always comes with responsibility. So you've had the freedom to choose to be Jewish, but you're also taking on an incredible responsibility by becoming Jewish, of becoming part of a community, of learning what that means to you to be part of this community. And each of you will have your own answers for that. You've given them to us, and that's what's so beautiful about Judaism, is that each one of us in this room and all Jews have their own answer to that question. But it's a responsibility that we have to wrestle with that question and to listen to that voice, Bamidbar, in the desert, and also to that voice of God, which we hear calling us here in Israel, especially so beautifully. And to think about what that means. So as you go through the days counting, as we have in the English, the numbers, also make sure that everything you do every day, that you make every day count and that you make every day special. And so I guess my biggest blessing to you, I like to always give a blessing as you have your names and your B'nai Mitzvah, is that as you count the days, as you count what you're doing, as you count the people around you, make sure not only that you make all of them count and matter, but also that you do those things that really matter to the world, that you make your days count through family, through friends, through making the world a better place, because that's also something that our Jewish tradition teaches us, is how do we make the days count by the things that we do, by the actions that matter, and by being partners with God in the ongoing creation of the world, whatever each of us interprets God to be, whether that means some power greater than ourselves, or whether it means that beauty within each one of us, or whatever it means to each of us, but that you make this world a better place, and be hand in hand in that partnership of making the world a better place. And so I want to give you a blessing with the talus, the ancient priestly blessing. You guys can all wrap yourselves in this again. So, Yivarecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Ya'er Adonai p'nav elecha v'yichunecha, Yisa Adonai p'nav elecha v'yasem l'cha shalom. May God bless you and keep you. May God's countenance shine upon you, and may you all be granted peace.
Amen.
Amen. And then also, if we can all say the Shehecheyanu together. And if we can all say the Shehecheyanu together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Shehecheyanu v'hiyanu v'hiyanu l'zman hazeh.
Siman tov v'mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov.
Siman tov,